Hello everyone, Lewis here. I tried to set up some kind of spooky lighting for this video because it's actually set to orange and green, but it looks kind of like just more faded red and blue like I normally have, but who cares? You can see my face, can't you? That's what matters. Yeah. Hi, I went to see a movie film today. I went to see Halloween Ends in Imax, which is the new Halloween and the third of the trilogy of the reboot slash sequel slash whatever thing that's going on now. And yeah, my brief history on my background with Halloween. I only really got into it a few years back before the new one came out because I'm quite a latecomer to horror movies. And yeah, I really like the original one and a fair few of the sequels. I watched all of them, and I generally quite like the series. And then when they did this one, the new one it was also just called Halloween 2018, where it was kind of the legacy sequel where they scrapped all of them apart from the original one and they made a sequel to that. I thought that was pretty good. I enjoyed that. I thought that's probably the best way of doing that. And then they did the story of Laurie being like, having to deal with this her whole life, and she's kind of like the Sarah Connor now, where she's just been prepared for Michael to come back and that kind of thing, and how it affected her life and her family and stuff like that. And it came to a really good ending where it was like conclusive ending, but it was still kind of slightly mysterious and ambiguous, and you went, oh, that's really good. That's a really good way of kind of just reigniting the franchise, but also kind of capping it all off on that. And then they went, well, we're going to do two more, so yeah, be ready for that. So yeah, then they did Halloween Kills, which came out last year, I think. I don't know, time's weird, but I didn't see that at the cinema because it was a time when everything was still very up in the air, so to speak, with COVID and what have you. So I eventually saw it at home, and I didn't really get on with that one. It felt very much like the middle of a trilogy where nothing's going to really happen because there's another one, and it just kind of felt, in many ways, and I'll go back to this when I talk about the new film, in many ways it feels like the Star Wars trilogy sequel, where they had quite a strong start and then they were like, we haven't really got a plan for anything else, we're just doing three films because the first one made money, so they kind of went, yeah, we're just going to do a trilogy because that's the thing. And yeah, we'll just see what happens. So the second one, they kind of went, I'm talking about Halloween still, not Star Wars, that's a whole different thing, but the second one they just kind of went, some weird story about an angry mob. And then this one, yeah, there's an even weirder story. So I'm not going to go into any spoilers. I'm not even going to any story specifics because I didn't know anything going into this other than what the trailer showed and what you'd expect, kind of thing. And yeah, most of it is just some weird story. They introduce a new character, and it's this kid. I can't even remember his name. Colin or something. Corey, something like that. There's a whole thing with him and Laurie's granddaughter. I think it's called Alison, if I remember correctly. And it's just a whole thing that I didn't really buy into. Like, I was like, okay, I guess this is happening. And then I kind of went, okay, I see what they're going to do with this. It's pretty obvious early on where it's going to go. And I was like, yeah, it's kind of different, I guess. It felt like one of the later sequels, like the sort of thing they do in one of those where they kind of go, right, this has been going on for a while. Let's kind of try and spin it around a little bit and add a new element to it. And I always say I'd rather a movie try something new and it not quite work than it just be, derivative and just the original and just the same thing. But in some sense, I was kind of expecting the same thing in this. I don't know if I'd have rather seen just Michael Myers going around killing people a lot. But then again, if they'd done that, I'd probably be sitting here now saying, "Oh yeah, it was the same as the others. They should have done something new," because that's just being human, isn't it? But yeah, as is evidenced in the trailer, and as you would expect, the movie is kind of the showdown between Michael Myers and Laurie Strode, and that kind of is obviously what it's building towards. And then there's a whole other story which does tie into it, but it does kind of feel like they're kind of going, right, we just need this to kind of feel like an hour and a half, and then we can do like, the big conclusion kind of thing. And then when it kind of gets to that point, you kind of go, oh, okay, yeah, I guess that's that then. I don't know. It's a hard one to explain. It starts off in a really shocking way. I really like the beginning of it, and it just kind of like, it really surprised me. And I thought, okay, this film's got some chutzpah. But yeah, and then it goes off into that story. And I think the main guy in it, who's the new character introduced, I just didn't really like him that much. I mean, nothing against the actor. I'm sure he was doing the best he could, but I don't know if it was just miscast or what have you, but he just didn't connect with me, and I didn't buy the whole thing with him and Laurie's granddaughter as well. And I just kind of like, I think that's what was missing for me to really get into it. There is a section probably 2/3 of the way through where it kind of gets into some more traditional, like, you know, Halloween gore and chaos and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, now we're cooking. There's some pretty creative, like, kills and stuff like that. I mean, spoilers, people get killed in this movie. Not enough, if you ask me. But yeah, it's one of those things where I was just like, okay, now we're going. And then, like I say, it just kind of gets to that point, and then you kind of go, right, let's wrap things up. And yeah, so I say, I wouldn't say that I really liked it, but I didn't dislike it. You know, I certainly wasn't bored. The minimum I expect a film to do is to keep me awake. So, you know, that's a good thing. And admittedly, in IMAX, it's quite hard to fall asleep. But it wasn't a film I necessarily sought out to see in IMAX, by the way. It was just that was the best timed screening for me to go to. And, it adds a bit. There are a couple of shots, and I don't know if this is weird to say, but there's a couple of shots where it's just uncomfortably bright. It sounds really weird. There is like a party scene with a constant strobe lighting effect, which I'm not sensitive to that kind of thing, but in IMAX I was like, all right, can we crack on from this now? There is one scene where there's a shot of Laurie they keep going back to, where she's sitting against, like, there's a window on one side of her and a wall behind her, and the window was so bright when I was watching it, I was like, oh god, can you not? But, that could just be an IMAX thing. On a normal screen it might be okay, but I'm just not used to that happening. It was really odd. Also, closing thoughts, I will say the man who scanned my ticket was a bit rude to me. I always ask people how they are when they scan my ticket, try and get a little bit of small talk going, but he was having none of it. Maybe he had a bad day, everyone does. Also, I was sitting there and there was no one sitting near me, which was great. And then two people came in 10 minutes into the film and then sat a bit further down from me, quite far away, but they were just chatting away all the way through the film. Really annoyed me. Couldn't hear what they were saying because they were far enough away, but I could hear them murmuring. I was like, don't sit there and talk all the way through the film. I'm too British to say anything, but if you go and see a movie in the cinema, you're not in your living room. People can hear you, so maybe that affected my enjoyment of the film a little bit. I don't know, but I would have found something else to be annoyed by. My contact lenses, probably. But yeah, I like things to be just perfect, just so when I watch a film. But yeah, but anyway, what was I talking about? Halloween? Yeah, something like that. Yeah, it was okay. It took a bit of a swing, which I always appreciate. Good effort. But yeah, overall, yeah. 4 out of 10. No, I don't rate movies out of 10. That seems a bit silly to me. But if I did, that's probably what I'll give it. Yeah. Anyway, thanks for watching. Happy Halloween, and I've got nothing else to add to that. Cheers. Bye.